Right, let's go back to the Auditor-General, Mr. Kimi Makwetu, for more details on the report that was released today. Dr. Makwetu, are you still there?
I'm here to do.
Okay, so let's look at the provincial breakdown, and we start in the Eastern Cape. The report highlighting also a culture of a lack of accountability. What did we find where that province is concerned?
In the Eastern Cape, you look at a couple of the big districts, for example, OR Tambo, you look at the Alfred Nzo district, as well as you look at the Chris Hani district, among others. Those districts have got a number of municipalities that never adhere to supply chain management rules. Whereas for the likes of OR Tambo district, they are responsible for water, they are responsible for big infrastructure projects. But the manner in which they handle public funds when they go through some of those projects is what the audit has found. So there's a widespread lack of adherence to financial management rules and disciplines. And I think they get away with it because even on oversight, there's not much rigor to attempt to stop them from doing that which is close to impunity.
Let's take a look at the Free State. We find that 10 municipalities did not submit financial statements on time. What was the consequence in terms of your report, and what were the findings, key findings in the Free State?
Well, I mean, a number of those municipalities subsequently, after the cut-off date of January, were able to bring forward those financial statements. But what it tells us to do is that a lot of these dates for submission and for delivery of financial statements are predetermined. So under the watch of an accounting officer, it should not be difficult for a municipality to present its accounts because they know they will be needed at the end of the financial year in August. So to us, that tells us that the routine disciplines that you need to have in place are often not in place. That's why some hold their financial statements back and not submit them from scrutiny. But once they are submitted also, there's a trend among those that submit late for them to fail the audit, which means that they were buying time to try and fix a few things that they ought to have addressed during the course of the year. And I think that's where the fault comes with many of those in the Free State.
Where Gauteng is concerned, we see it held steady with all municipalities maintaining their good audit outcomes.
There's a very strong presence of financial management skills in a number of municipalities in the province of Gauteng. And so they do pass the test of audit when it comes to transparent financial management as well as the management of finances in general. Where they fall short is when things like contract management, procurement of goods and services from third-party service providers, many of them do not often adhere to what is required in terms of a transparent procurement process. So the audit fails them there, despite the fact that they do have good accountants, but they don't adhere to disciplines, because those disciplines, if they are not adhered to, they are the type of stuff that results in municipalities paying much more than what they should have paid, despite the fact that the books balance. So balancing the books is probably one good thing on the periphery. It's when you drill down behind the numbers that you find certain things were done not in accordance with what the law prescribes, both for procurement of goods and services, but also for asset management in general. So that is the key thing within the Gauteng municipalities. And you'll see that in a number of the municipalities in Gauteng, the water and electricity losses are running at very big balances. And those are losses occasioned by deterioration of infrastructure as well as forced connection of communities around many municipalities in the province. So those are things that are not going to make the accounts wrong. But when you look deeper into them, they reflect on lost financial opportunities.
Where KwaZulu-Natal is concerned, little change in the audit outcomes of the province.
KwaZulu-Natal is a province that in the past has had better outcomes than they are having now. There's been quite a lot of instability in a number of municipalities in that province, to the extent that when their accounts get subjected to scrutiny, you then get exposed to documents not being found. You get exposed to a situation where accounting records are not being properly scrutinized, but you also find that they do go ahead and seek the services of external service providers to fix the books. And of course, we do say that in the report, there are significant levels of expenditure towards the procurement of the services of your accountants and other people out there. But it comes at a huge price, particularly when the books do not get any better after you spend that money. And I think that's one of the key things that characterizes KwaZulu-Natal, with one outlier that has achieved a clean audit in that province, which is Okahlamba municipality.
Ntate Makwetu, because time is an enemy, perhaps let's end off with this. The report is highlighting several words. So weakened oversight, which is something that you spoke about a little bit earlier on. Failure of key controls continued. Accountability not adequately enforced by leadership. Whenever the Auditor General's report comes out, it is not a surprise that we see municipalities failing or lacking. In terms of accountability, are you all right there, sir?
Yes, I am.
In terms of accountability, what is it that you see that we can do moving forward?
Just as a kick-off on that point, if you look at accountability as defined in the various instruments of local government, the people that motivate to the communities for the resources to be made available are the councillors. They are the elected representatives. They get the nod from national via the equitable grant and many other grants, and they get the money. So the money arrives at the bank, it gets put into the bank account, but when the expenditure happens in a number of the projects that they had themselves gone out to seek money for from the fiscus, suddenly they are looking somewhere else. They are not looking at whether the projects that are being implemented, are they being done in accordance with the specified outcomes? Are they being done within the constraints of the financial purse? And are the disciplines being observed as they should? So if council and the committees of council in a municipality do not take that proactive step, because they are the ones that went to ask for the money, so they need to make sure that they know what and how the money got spent and how it got handled. And I think that's where the chain gets broken, because that's the highest level of leadership and accountability as elected representatives in local government. And I think that's what the report is trying to frame, because it says that, well, even those that you've hired as senior managers, they get away with it because they know that you never come this side on the finances to look. You're probably looking at other stuff that has got nothing to do with finance. And I think that's where the fault line for the greatest part is.
Ntate Makwetu, why are we not seeing people jailed? Because this has a direct impact on South Africans.
Well, in theory, people, when they do wrong things, they normally find themselves in a jail system in many other parts of societies generally. But it's when they are allowed to have the upper hand that they always undermine those that are in leadership. So when people who are doing wrong in institutions have an upper hand, when I say upper hand, sometimes I mean they also got something to point at you on a different matter which may be construed as a case to be answered. If you were involved as a councillor and you tried to get particular contracts awarded in a particular way, because I'm a wrongdoer, there's very little chance for you as a councillor to take me on that matter, because I'm myself equally compromised in respect of adherence to the rules of the game. You will find instances like those, and I think it will be difficult for somebody to take someone to the courts when they know that they also have something along the same lines to answer for.
Ntate Makwetu, Kimi Makwetu is the Auditor-General of South Africa. Do stay with us. More